Hello, and welcome to a live Kerfefe break on Deprogram with Keri Smith. I'm your host, Keri. Today is Happy January 6th. It's January 6th, which is Epiphany. You thought I was going to say something else, didn't you? But no, Epiphany is also known as Three Kings Day. I just learned about it this year. And I've been celebrating Christmas all the way up until today's the final day of Christmas, as far as I'm concerned. But it's also, I know they're trying to make January 6th into something else now that we always remember. And I just encourage you to remember it for Epiphany and read more about that. It was the day that it's the feast day that a lot of Christians celebrate. It's the day that God was revealed as Jesus. And there are probably people in the chat, people who told me about Epiphany who know more about it than I do. So I welcome you to fill people in. Okay, so if it's your first time here, this is a live show that we do on the channel on Mondays and Fridays. We just hang out. We have guest hosts. We talk about what's in the news, and we have fun. And a couple of announcements. Right after this show, I'm going to be going over to Nina Infinity's channel for her Friday Good News show with today. It's me and Melanie Mack, which will be fun. So if you want to hang out there afterwards. And without further ado, my guest host today is comedian, musician, and podcaster, the host of Conservatish, Peter Feliciano. Welcome, Peter.
Hi, everybody. Hello. I was on your old show, I think.
Yes.
And I think I may have tied Mark Hughes for the amount of cussing, the world record.
You might have.
Yeah, that's fine.
You did a great job here. For anyone that doesn't know, Peter is now in Texas. Hook 'em guns up for the Red Raiders.
I don't know what that means.
But he came and hung out with me on Thanksgiving. We had some friends over. It was a lot of fun. And my mother-in-law's here. And I have trouble sometimes not cursing in front of my mother-in-law. I make a great effort. And you did great. You were like,
I thank you very much, because I don't think I get appreciated. I was just chatting with somebody last night. I don't think I get appreciated enough for how mature I am.
Yes.
And it sounds like a joke, but I do actually try to practice. As filthy as people who know my show are, like, they think I'm just they might think I'm just a boisterous, obnoxious, over the top, blah 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 all the time. But I'm really I'm quite amiable in person. I can fit into a lot of different, older ladies, mothers-in-laws, whatever. I go to church, you know what I mean? I'm
and I
kicking
can
it. It's
see
all good.
Yeah, and how you have a lot of charisma, how they would like you and like hanging out with you. And we had so much fun.
Yeah,
you just started. My husband was playing piano. You were on guitar. And then some of my husband's violinist, Megan, got out her violin, and her husband got out his bass guitar, and it just became so much fun. You started singing. What was that song that Anthony was really liked that you just read? Was it The Rooster?
Oh yeah, Alice in Chains.
Alice in Chains.
Yeah. We also did Careless Whisper. We did Purple Rain. We did all kinds of great stuff. That was a great night, especially being stuffed with delicious turkey and then singing. Yeah,
and then
what do you need?
Fun.
What else do you need?
Yeah. So Peter, before we get into stuff, we are going to cover, if you guys have been watching Kerfefe breaks lately, you know that we've been covering the Twitter files because the mainstream media is acting like it's not happening, it's not existing, that journalists are not releasing this information. They're completely trying to black hole it, which is crazy because it's the journalists who are releasing this information have been dragging it out, which I think is great because they knew the mainstream media was going to try to ignore it. So they're dragging it out. They're releasing it in different parts. And so we will read through part 8 today, which is not that long. I think it's 21 tweets. We're going to read through that one. But first, why don't you tell people a little about yourself, where they can find you online, and about your news about your show coming up?
Yes, ma'am. So my name is Peter Feliciano. I am a singer-songwriter and a podcaster. I host a weekly show called Conservatish. I've been doing it since August or September of 2018. Keri's been on it. And I have mostly that show is about just humanizing the often dehumanized. Oh, well, thank you very much. for posting my links. It's about telling stories that wouldn't normally get told. Specifically, especially the last year and a half, 2 years, it's been a lot of, I like killing identity politics using identity politics to do it. You know what I mean? I'm a
What do you
half
mean by
Puerto
that?
Rican. So I'm a half Puerto Rican, right? So I don't mind that anybody has free speech for anything, but usually I've literally only been called Nazi by white people, right? So so I like throwing the cognitive dissonance by using their own tools against them to kill it. So if someone comes in swinging, you're not allowed to say that, blah blah blah, and I just said, well, you're a white person and I'm a person of color, so I win. You know what I mean? Stop trying to colonize. Stop trying to colonize my speech. You know what I mean? Hater, racist. And I just throw those around in order to water it down, in order to show how silly it is. And also it's just fun to watch the patterns. Because for me, the pattern over and over, and I don't want to get off too deep in a tangent, but the pattern over and over is, really the only problem we really have to deal with is white liberals and a couple of black activists. That's like a couple million white liberals and like maybe 20 black blue check marks. That's our only problem, really. Anyway, so
why do white people love woke?
Well, let me finish promoting
Okay,
myself,
okay.
Keri,
Promote
okay?
yourself first.
One thing at a time. So I have that, and then I also am a musician. Most of my music is not political at all. I just like creating. Been that singer-songwriter for a long time, and you can find me on Spotify and iTunes, and I've got a show coming up next Saturday, January 14th at Swan Dive. And it's a place, it's going to be a great show, big show. And it's also my first show in 3 years. My last one was in New York right before the pandemic. So I haven't been able to really perform because I was living in, they don't, I didn't have the right chemicals in my body. So I couldn't perform. And then now I'm in Austin, just moved here. And so this is my first show in Austin, and it's going to be a great time. So come to Swan Dive at 9 p.m.
Woohoo! I'm very excited for you. I know you're
very
probably
much.
a little nervous because it's been 3 years, but
Oh, I'm so nervous. Holy shit. Like I am really trying to be like more excited than nervous, but I can't
they're
just.
so related, nervousness and excitement.
Oh, they are?
They are so related. Yeah. And you can
Right.
flip it. You can channel it into excitement.
That's what I'm doing. And I'm also using it to just like, okay, I need to schedule the rehearsals and I need to let me practice and blah, 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 blah. I'm doing all the stuff to stay productive and be on top of it. At the same time, it's been a few years. Before then, when I was living in the Bay Area, right before I moved to New York back then, I was performing once a week, twice a week. You know what I mean? I was a regular it was muscle memory. It was whatever, me and my guitar. And then, had muscle nerve issues in both of my arms the last couple of years. I've had a couple of surgeries. Yay. And I'm healing up really well from that, but I still haven't really even been able to play guitar. So, I mean, actually at your house for Thanksgiving was kind of the first time I played actual guitar in front of people for longer than, 2 minutes. So, that was a lot of fun to kind of do that and explore. And it's better than I thought it would be, for sure. But this time I'm going to have a whole band with me, a whole band of assassins, just musical session makers who are just like so pro. It's so better. And I've got a couple of surprise covers that you're going to not want to miss. So make sure you're there.
Cool. Okay, let's get back to this question. Why do you think white people are so into woke ideology?
So I think about this a lot, and I talk about it a lot with all the people on Conservatish on other people's shows that I would get to be on. I think, so what happens is I see it almost like the doctor has that little mallet, hits you on the knee, and your knee goes, whatever. That's what I kind of see as guilt for whites, right? Mostly white liberals, right? Now, I think a couple of different things. When someone doesn't spend enough time around a certain type of person, that person becomes a caricature. That's normal, that's natural, that's human, right? And if it's, say, a Kentucky white, guy in 1947, he might think, okay, because I don't spend enough time, I just see the caricature, and so they're below me, right? The opposite, although it's also quite racist, the opposite happens in Connecticut. Right? Connecticut,
Yes.
white liberals don't know any black people, but they feel guilt. And so they don't have the experience of the tactile breadth and width of how diverse mentally, how diverse politically, how diverse, experientially that Black people are. And so they put them on a pedestal instead of either they're below me or they're above me. And that's just as damning and dangerous, because what that happens then is then a couple of Black activists who are propped up by Black Lives Matter, who are propped up by whatever, these white Connecticut kids, they don't want to be a bad person. They have resentment towards their rich daddy, right? And so they want to be a good white. And so they glom on to, the only Black people that white Connecticut kids have in their lives are the activists they follow on Instagram and on Twitter. And so, of course, that's going to be the Black experience, the Black story, the Black blah, blah, blah. I mean, I literally saw last night, there's Eventbrite, there's an event going around, meet a real Black person. You know what I mean?
I just added this. Yeah. I saw Clifton Duncan said on Twitter, he was like, I'm pissed that I didn't think of this grift first. And this woman, it's seriously, I so much stuff like this in the social justice world. And I think you're right. I think a lot of these white woke leftists, they don't actually, they're kind of isolated in their echo chambers or the communities in which they live. Maybe they live in more affluent communities, and they don't really know a lot of people of color, or they don't know a lot of gay or trans people. And so I think part of it is, like you're saying, they've sort of made them the other, which is funny. That's using their language, but that's what they've done. Look at this event for anybody who's just listening and who's not looking at the screen. This is a Black woman who's selling tickets to an event on January 8th called Come Meet a Black Person, Anti-Racism Virtual Series. This is where non-Blacks talk about racism and eradicating racism with Blacks.
What kind of Blacks? Yeah. See, here's the thing. When that grift happens, and God bless her, I hope she makes a lot of money, because there's a lot of white Connecticutans who just really, literally, it's tongue in cheek, but that's literally their experience. You know what I mean? They don't know any Black. And so they're like, oh, I need to, and so they meet that Black person. The Black person has them cornered, and not just cornered because they're the only Black person this person has ever come in contact with, but also because emotionally cornered. And when you get somebody emotionally cornered, you have them hostage, and you can tell them whatever you want. You can explain the Black experience, even though there's 41 million Black people in America, and there's therefore 41 million different experiences, 41 million different perceptions of those experiences, 41 million different reactions to those perceptions of those different experiences. You know what I mean? And I
believe. Go ahead.
Go ahead. No,
I was going to say, I believe that elite white people in the 1800s also paid money to go and see Black people at zoos. Didn't they?
Oh yeah.
Just as racist in both cases. Yeah. And like you said, it's two sides of the same racist coin.
Two sides of the same.
They're both right. It's so crazy. Right. Come meet a real live Black person. What?
But here's the thing: I've heard it put this way, and I don't know if I 100% agree, but I think it makes sense. Conservatives don't like Black people, but they like Black persons, right? Liberals like Black people as a concept, but don't like Black persons, right? Does that make sense?
I've heard that, but about the North and South, but yes.
Oh, okay. Oh, yeah, there you go. So where it's like most of the Black people I know, here's the thing. If you want to, here's a proof that wokeness is white people shit, okay? Go into Chicago, okay? As much as they have a D next to their vote and whatever. Go into the deep South, South Central of Chicago, and ask a Black woman there if she's okay with drag queens reading to her son. Just ask her. You know what I mean? They'd be like, what the fuck? Whatever. They vote Democrat, vote liberal, whatever. But are they really? Are they really? Because the definition of liberal now is very different than it was 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago.
Yes. I actually, you're making me think of something I saw on your Instagram channel over the middle of the week. Can we play one of these?
Please.
Okay. These are so funny. I'll play the first one. Hold on. Here's the problem on Instagram. I don't know how to pause things. Oh, wait. There we go.
It's on my YouTube.
So, So you guys can go over to Peter's YouTube or
Mm.
Instagram.
Mhm. Do you want me
Never
to talk
mind.
about it real quick?
Why don't you talk about it while I pull up the YouTube
Okay.
clip instead?
Okay.
I'm having technical
So,
problems.
so I was in San Diego, and got to record a little bit. By the way, just as a fun little side note, I'm doing a cover, or I'm doing a an original song, a duet or a collaborative song with Diana Death. If anybody knows Diana Death, she's a Mexican punk from San Diego. Been doing it for a long time. She's a badass, and she's also like consistently punk. She's not this type of punk who now licks government boots.
She's a real punk.
She's an actual punk, so she's anti-government. Woohoo! Um, and so I'm doing a great cumbia song with her. Look for that soon. But I was recording with her, and I had forgotten something back at my hotel. I'd forgotten like a cord for my, oh yeah, I'd forgotten my power cord for my laptop. And so I took an Uber back to the hotel, and this is the guy I got. And I don't know how it happened specifically, but I know that somewhere along the line I realized, oh, he's actually cool. And so he started, you test the waters with somebody, and this is what happened.
He's been in the public eye for 40 years. He's never been called a racist. But when he runs for president, he's a racist now?
Exactly.
Get the fuck out of here. Donald Trump got the Rosa Parks Award back in the 80s. Not only that, go do some research. Back in the 80s, white banks didn't lend money to black businesses.
Yes, sir.
Donald Trump used to lend money to black business people, and as long as you made all your payments, on the final balloon payment, he would say, we good. That's a fact. That's why I hate Al Sharpton. I hate Obama.
Yes, sir.
I hate all these motherfucking black people who abuse us.
Yes.
We're trying to point white folks is racist. That's all they fucking do. But when Obama was president, what the fuck did he do? Pass laws to suck more dick.
Exactly.
That's all he did.
You're gonna love my fucking show. I have a podcast called Conservatish.
Donald Trump.
These are so funny. You have 4 parts of these.
4 parts so far. There's 6 in total, so there's 2 more coming. One tonight and one tomorrow. But yeah, it was only a 10-minute or so Uber ride, but really quickly I was like, even though I know, and I made sure I'm cutting out anything that talks about who he might be or whatever. I'm very, very careful about that, because I didn't ask him, which is, that's not great on my part. I understand that. But I didn't video him. I cut out anything that would identify him. But I needed to share this experience, specifically with white liberals, because, and I know they're in their own little bubble, and they've been really good the last few years at attacking black people. White liberals have. If you don't believe me, who was the one? Let's just, whether you agree with whatever Kanye said or not, they took billions of dollars from him because of what he said, what he thinks. And tried to, and literally kicked him off of what? So that's number 1. Number 2, when a white lady wore a monkey mask and threw an egg at Larry Elder's head, that didn't become news, right? Oh, right.
I remember that.
And what's another one? About a month and a half ago, right before the election in New York, a Lee Zeldin supporter who was a black woman, woman of color. Yeah, black. I think she was half black or whatever. Anyway, suffice it to say, a black woman who was a Lee Zeldin supporter got choked, at a protest by a white Democrat. So that's just 3, right? Of literally specifically attacking, white liberals attacking, which would have been in the news if it was a Trump supporter choking somebody or throwing an egg while wearing a fucking monkey mask. Yes. It would have been news. But you dumb white liberals are in your own little bubble, and you just think, I'm so good. You know what you are? You know what you are? You're addicted to the feeling. You're addicted to bullying, and you're childish and racist, but you're mostly childish. And so I wanted to share this experience with them. Little cognitive dissonance.
I love it. I love that you have these shorts up. I'm not really a fan. I haven't really done any YouTube shorts yet. I feel like they're trying to make everything Snapchat now, like on Facebook and stuff too. But that's what it's for. Those kind of short little snippets. Like that's great, dude. I love it. So you guys go check that out on Peter's channel. And I did want to pull up. There's a couple things I want to talk about today, Peter.
Do it.
But before we get into, there's one I'm really kind of piping mad about. But before I get into that, I did want to have a conversation with you about music because you have this show coming up on the 14th.
Yes,
And
ma'am.
when we were texting back and forth about doing the show today, you said you might want to talk about what it's like to be a rebel musician and with wokeness sort of permeating all of our cultural outlets and communities.
Right.
What has it been like for you as a comedian and a musician? Like, have you faced any repercussions for speaking your opinions on your podcast or?
So my just a quick synopsis of my journey. I mean, I was doing only music for about 6 years before I started the podcast. I assumed I was a liberal, everybody in their 20s does. But I had this experience where I started being annoyed because I was doing hooks for rappers around the Bay Area. You can find those on YouTube too. And I found this experience where every song was about the struggle. Every song was about, the man, or at a certain point, I was just getting bored. I'm just like, everybody's, this has already been said. This has already been done. I'm not saying whatever, but, and then my kind of red pill awakening happened about maybe 6 months after the 2016 election. And then I figured I wanted to start a show so that I could rant 100% freely. I don't want to, as much as my music is my primary source of creativity, and I will never stop doing it. It's constantly in my head. I love it. I will always do it. I may not always do the show. I don't know. But here's the thing I know for sure is that I didn't want to be confined to a couple of verses and a chorus in what I wanted to say about a topic. And I'm too blah, 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 blah. You can tell already from just, and so I wanted to start a show. And so I started the show. The only real consequences I've had is being deeply shadow banned and censored and losing a couple of acquaintances. And those couple of acquaintances were even people, just as the one that really pops to mind that I always talk about is when I was having a Proud Boy on my show back in 2018, maybe October of 2018. I was still new in the show, and I was just like, I was interested in talking with someone because, again, the goal of the show is to humanize the often dehumanized, right? So I've had abuse survivors, I've had drag queens, I've had all kind, every type of person,
talking to anyone, and even people you
Yes.
disagree with.
Yes, I've had a socialist on my show multiple times, and I'm still friends with him. Isn't that strange? Anyway, so I had this Proud Boy on, and I was teasing the show. Hey, I'm gonna have a Proud Boy on, blah blah blah. And a couple of white people online were like, you shouldn't give it, you shouldn't. Because white liberals love, as much as they think they're liberal, they just love telling motherfuckers what to do. It's fun to bully. Just say you like to abuse people. Just be open about it. Or, do therapy and heal. But anyway, sorry, what was I saying? Oh, so I like to get into the psychology of it.
You were doing a white person impression, pushing the glasses up. I thought you were about to do tear wiping. That's what I thought.
No, they're dorks. They're dorks and they're dweebs. Look at The Office. There's not a dude on there, and the only dude that was on there eventually got kicked out because he was toxic masculinity trying to get blah blah blah. It was the worst caricature of whatever. Anyway, sorry, I have other rants to go on. What was I saying?
Okay, so you were doing a Proud Boy episode.
I was doing a Proud Boy episode, and I teased it. And this one couple, half Asian, or the girls are Asian and the guy was white, we're like, this is beyond the line. I know you're getting, you're doing, it's okay if we disagree, but like, this is beyond, this is a giving a platform to white supremacy. This is giving a platform to white supremacy. And I said, hang on. Number one, I'm a half spick. Okay. So do you think I would actually, like, with all the people that I've actually had on my show, I mean, I'm willing to have maybe, I guess, a white supremacist, but not really. I'm not interested in that, but I'm not offended. I wouldn't have a white supremacist, an actual white. Come on. Number one, the Proud Boy was Mexican.
They don't care.
They don't care. But they started to care because it's the Lost in Space danger, Will Robinson. It's the cognitive dissonance of their white guilt is fighting their white guilt. It's their white guilt of not being able to tell me what to do, or knowing that they shouldn't talk down to me or the Mexican guy who was coming on my show. and yet at the same time, their white guilt is making them do it and making them vilify me and this dude anyway. So it's just like, and then they just implode, and I have to just leave this person.
They can't handle it because it's
they
like you
can't
said,
handle it.
it's the cognitive dissonance because you or this Mexican proud boy, the Mexican proud boy, for example, his very existence puts their ideology on shaky ground.
Right.
And internally they can't handle that because their ideology says there is a Black opinion, there is a Mexican opinion, there is a, Asian opinion, all people of color, we speak for, this ideology. And so when they encounter someone who is not woke and who's not woke and who's a person of color, they can't handle it. Like they don't know. And like you said, they've been told not to talk down, but a lot of times they break their own rules.
Oh yeah.
Then they start white splaining to you.
Oh yeah. And so that's why I just throw it right back in their face. You know what I mean? And I know it's not going to last long because I mean, they're, they've already choked, thrown eggs at, stole billions of dollars from a Black person. Right. So they don't really care. I just want them to be honest about it. That's all. 2 years ago when George Floyd was happening, everybody was like, all the white liberals, here's the black square because I care. It's not because I'm a fucking child. No, it's because and I really believe they did care. I really believe they did have good intentions. They didn't know they were being taken advantage of by old rich white dudes. Okay. But now it's that during that time, they said things like, all white people just need to shut up.
Yeah.
Just listen to Black people.
Yep.
And during that summer, I grabbed every Black conservative. I was like, what about them? What about them? What about them? What about them? I talked to a dude, Alex C., I think the episode is. Still friends with the dude. In fact, I think he might come down. Come on, Alex. He might come down to Austin and shoot guns with me soon. Apparently, he's got some beefy ones.
Is that a euphemism?
No, some guns. You know what?
I'm just kidding.
I don't like dirty jokes. Okay.
I'm sorry.
What was I saying? So Alex C. grew up in at parts of his life in the dirty dark of Detroit, right? And talked about literally a week after, during the George Floyd riots, was literally on my show talking about how, hey, in the ghetto, we want more cops. We want more cops. We don't like these. We don't like these gangsters. We don't like that just because they have the same skin color as me. They're not terrifying and shooting at people. He's been shot at, right?
Yeah.
And yet white people will just defund, just break it all down. And so, I think I've faced, to get back to your original question, I have faced consequences, but mostly I'm okay with the consequences.
Yes.
Mostly because it's helped me. The show in itself, I was just thinking about this a few days ago, or I was thinking about it actually at your house while I was at your Thanksgiving celebration, that maybe 70% of my most valued relationships are an extension of the show. It would not have happened in my life, even being at your house, unless I had, had the show, reached out to Mike Harlow. Mikey was like, oh, you need to meet, blah, blah, blah. Hi, Mikey. If my world has gotten so much bigger, why? And the show is not in and of itself, whatever. The show is a manifestation of me believing in myself, a manifestation of giving myself space to talk, a manifestation of being true to myself and just being like, no, I'm gonna, hold my balls. I'm like, I think I'm right. And my world, is great. Unfortunately, there have been a few relationships I've had to let go, including one, recently. I've been saying on my show, I've officially resigned as the white girl whisperer.
What's that mean? Like you have
so
relationships with
white liberal girls. Oh yeah. See, I lived in the Bay Area and in New York City. What was my, whatever? What am I supposed to do? I wasn't in Austin where there are all these, church going, girls who are actually, open about the fact that they want kids. So, and I was fine with that for a long time because I wasn't really interested in I didn't know it at the time. I wasn't really ready. And now I'm ready. And I had started a relationship with a girl in New York and it, blah, blah. But the bottom line is that it wasn't that we had political differences. it was that she wasn't emotionally mature enough to handle those political differences. Meaning, here's an example, guys. I really don't trust Marxism. I fucking hate that shit because it's murdered millions of people over the years, right? It's disgusting. It's not even just good in theory, but horrible in practice. It's horrible in theory, right? But I don't want to censor Marxists, right? So why is my hate mature enough to handle someone disagreeing with it? But your hatred of even people who just don't want to let kids, genitalia be cut off, why is your hate of that not mature enough to handle, like you want to censor, right? So again, there's a lot to that, but I'm just saying there's a difference between a political difference and emotional maturity to handle it.
Yes.
Right? And I have officially, I'm done trying to convince, because it's too much work. I can do it. I've done it many times, but I'm
red pilling them, or at least red pilling in the sense of getting them to be open-minded enough to be okay with the fact that you have different opinions and not let that. I hear what you're saying. I view social justice ideology, which is a mutation of Marxism.
Right.
It's evil. It's thoroughly evil. And people who are in it, first of all, they don't understand that we believe that. But it's like where you, it's not that they don't agree. They really fundamentally don't even understand. I have to explain that, like, no, I actually think your ideology is as evil as Nazism. Like, they're both evil. They're both the same. I mean, it's the same thing when it gets down to it. And at the same time, I don't think you're evil for pushing it or for being in it, because I know that good people can do bad things and they can be misled and manipulated and brainwashed and all kinds of things. And I'm willing to be friends with people who are in social justice if they're willing to be friends with me. And that is that fundamental difference. Like you said, a lot of them are not. It's very rare to find one who is open-minded enough, because on the flip side, they're doing the same thing. They're looking at whatever it is, their misunderstanding of what I believe, because they want to call me super right wing or whatever that means. But they look at me and say, her beliefs are evil. Therefore she's evil. Therefore I do not want to be her friend. It's just, I don't know.
And also I think it's also a cover for a lot of things. You know what I mean? I think that girl, I don't want, I'm not trying to disparage her personality. Not that this will ever get back to her, but she's a wonderful person. But, I had to break up, we had to break up because it was the political differences and the emotional immaturity thereof were just a symptom of a bigger problem, which is that she wasn't ready to let go. And the bigger thing, I was just chatting with somebody a few weeks ago, and she talked about how, at a certain point she had gotten pregnant and she was sitting, she tells me about this feeling. She's like, I was pregnant and I remember just a visceral feeling like nothing else matters except me, this kid, and my husband. Like just nothing. I don't care what any of them think. I don't care what anybody out there does. And I'm like, that's the thing is when I'm just saying, like when, as an example, my most recent ex, where it was like she wants that, but there's too many people in New York City who are thinking about her and judging her and telling her what she should be thinking about and what her priorities should be. And don't you believe in feminism? Shouldn't you want to blah, 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 blah. And there's a war, again, there's a war going on in herself. And I'm tired of being a part of that war because I'm filling in for who she's actually fighting.
You're making me think of, this week I was listening to Dear Sugars, which is a podcast. It's kind of a leftist podcast, but it's an advice column podcast. And it's hosted by Cheryl Strayed, who wrote the book Wild. I don't know if you guys read that book. It's a great book. And I forget the male co-host name, but he's an author also. Anyway, I just stumbled on it and I was listening to a couple of their episodes, and two of their most listened to episodes of this year, or the two where they said they did a two-part episode on this subject, and it was single women writing them letters. They said the most letters we get every year, the most common type of letter we get is from single women who I assume, based on what the content of these letters, live in big cities like New York or Los Angeles, who are writing them and saying, I'm in a panic. I'm in my late 30s, early 40s. I want to settle down. And I think is scarcity a thing? Because I think scarcity is a thing. I'm noticing there aren't a lot of available men. And I have a great career and I've spent my whole life building this great career and I have a great friend base. What is something wrong with me? I can't find a man. Will I ever find the one? I have all this anxiety and panic and I'm dating and I'm trying every app and I'm doing this and that. And so they read all these letters. And one thing that struck me from the letters is that a lot of these women are, first of all, way too picky. uh, have a higher view of themselves, maybe, and a lower view of the people they're dating, and sort of coming from that place of like the guy needs to be all these things that I'm not anyway.
Right. What does she
And
bring to the table?
right. And the other thing is they got suckered by social justice feminism.
Mm-hmm.
They got suckered by it, which is a lot of them say, I didn't think about having kids until now. I never thought about it. I just thought about my career and it just didn't occur to me. And now I'm like frantic. And the other thing that some of them mentioned, one of them mentioned in her letter, she's like, I live in a big city and you would think there'd be lots of options, but once you factor out age and interest and income level and then she goes, and politics. And then when she was describing men that she has refused to go out with, she was saying, and some of them have deeply misogynistic and patriarchal views. And I'm like, okay, lady, I actually don't believe that. I think you're just, if you see Trump on the profile or whatever, they're a conservative, you just automatically assume that. And you are cutting yourself off from all these potential, like probably very solid guys because you're such a bigot. And you can't get past it. I mean, I'm rambling now, but I just listened to this. So you're making me think about it. And these ladies are all in the city. That's the other thing. They're all in places like New York City.
It fucking, as much as a filth bag as I am, and I think I used to be more slutty. I'm not as slutty now. I'm taking it, but my heart hurts for them. That's what's fucked up. Is that my big old, like, I'm gonna convince I'm the white liberal girl whisperer. It's because I care, dum-dums. Okay. It's because I don't want them to be 50 with a bunch of cats wondering why it didn't work out.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And so I'm getting in there and I'm like, well, fuck it. This is going to sound egotistical. So everybody cover your fucking ears if you want, but and it's not egotistical. I'm just telling you from my personal lived experience. This is my truth. Every woman I've dated almost everybody has thanked me. I've made them a better fucking girl for the next guy. Okay. Now that's my own journey. I've now realized I'm sick. That's my own journey of realizing I'm sick of being a taxi for broads. I understand that. I'm adjusting. That's why I'm like, okay, who's my actual partner now? All right. No, I'm getting more picky, which is good for me. But over the years, it's been like, a girl on paper may like, feminist, blah, blah, blah. Okay. Did I say this on your last show? You're okay with me saying some filthy things, right? This is
let's just give a warning in case my mother-in-law is listening. He's about to say something filthy. That we'll do it in a big warning. Okay,
right.
Go
Afuera,
ahead.
por favor. Cover your ears. I'm just saying, the nature doesn't fucking lie. Okay. You can be all rah feminism, but if I choke you, whose pussy gets wet? Okay. Be fucking real. That's what I'm saying. Be fucking ladies. I'm just saying, this is my lived experience. And I'm going to say, go ahead.
I'm going to back that up in a different way. In my experience, some of the feminine, so friends of mine who are this third wave feminists, social justice feminists, they would often complain about, this is anecdotal, but this is true. They would often complain about how the guys they were dating, who were these sort of male feminists, soy boy, the future is female t-shirt wearing, RBG t-shirt wearing, like those kind of guys. They weren't actually attracted to them, but they were trying to
Yes.
retrain their attraction, because on paper that was what they wanted, right? That's what they thought they wanted. And then one of my friends in particular, I'll remember, she talked about this all the time. She's like, I'm really attracted to like the wrong kind of guy. And I'm like, like, what wrong kind of guy is it? What do you mean? And she just meant someone who's a Republican, or someone who, she was like, someone who works with his hands and knows how to fix things.
Right.
And she was describing just what in the 1960s would have just been called an average masculine dude, but now it's called some kind of toxic masculinity, right wing,
Right.
da 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 da.
Right.
And she was trying to force herself to date guys that she wasn't actually into.
Right.
And
Think about it. Think about it this way. I've heard it put, another adjective is just nice. Nice guys. They work on paper, but they just don't make me feel anything.
Yeah.
Right. And then I come along and I make them feel things, and their cognitive dissonance happens, not just because I'm partially, I'm conservatish, but also because I don't like, I'm confident and I'm like, I don't need them. Right. And it's just like, but and there's what's the word? Insecurity that happens with that, but it's not a bad insecurity. Because when I've dug into it with girls who are, as an example, one girl one time was talking about how she had been married this guy when she was like 20, gotten together, and they were, they made kids and blah, blah, blah. They've been together for like 20 years or something. And she's like, man, I just don't feel, I almost hate him when he talks.
Oh,
Right
no.
now. Right. But he does everything I want him to do. Right. He's a good father, and he's this and he's that. But I just, he makes I'm just annoyed by him. And I'm okay. So I like piecing that apart with them. And okay. So girls know intuitively they can't bulldoze me. And I don't know why. We can talk about it for hours about why that's attractive, but it is. Right. So I'm not saying that element, which makes girls feel something, means you need to take all the, I get to hate you or anything like that. but I'm saying there are aspects of why that is that we can not only pay attention to and but also embrace.
Well, you respect someone who's not a pushover, whether it's a man or a woman. It commands respect. Right. I mean, a lot of the social justice women I'm thinking of who have, some of them in some cases have husbands who it's very clear they don't respect them, but their husbands do things like dress up like Ruth Bader Ginsburg and post it on Instagram. And, and like,
it sounds like you're talking about someone specifically.
Yeah. Like, no wonder you don't respect him. I can't respect him. He's just sort of this, you're describing someone who's, it's like a dog, obedient. He's obedient.
He's nice.
He does everything I say.
Right.
Oh, gross.
But I'm not nice. I'm not nice, but I am sweet. Right. Yeah. There's a difference between nice and sweet. Right. And I provide that. And I'm a bit of an asshole, but almost every woman I talk to, when you talk about it, likes a guy, like he's a little bit of a jerk. Like he's not a jerk. A girl one time put it this way.
Okay.
Who?
I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. A girl one time put it this way. An ex, she was an ex at the time. She's still an ex, obviously, but she had texted me. She was like, yeah, I've realized I made a list of the 3 types of men, like on a hierarchy of who I'm attracted to. And at the top is guys who are capable of murder, but treat me like a princess.
This is in like the center. Okay.
Yeah. In the center is guys who are capable of a little bit, but we're also assholes. Right. And then the third, the bottom one, the least attractive one to her, was guys who are incapable of any harm and were nice. And she put in parentheses, like a wet noodle.
Yes.
Right. So my fight is for truth, whether it be politically, relationship wise, whatever. My fight is for fulfillment. My fight is for, moving forward. And I think we're doing a great job. I just think so many women and men too are getting lost in the dust. And I think it's a shame. And so I'm going to keep trying to help dudes and keep trying to help women understand and delineate what's true for them and what's true, what they actually like. If they were, I always make fun of, I kind of put it this way. There's a lot of girls who, like, if you ask them, and guys too, but mostly, women, who, if you ask them 5 minutes before they went into a comedy club, would you ever laugh at a rape joke? And they would be, no, I would never, no. And you, all of a sudden they let them go into the club. Lights are all down. No one's looking at them. She's not even looking at herself. And a guy there, everybody in the audience is, you've been in comedy, riding the wave, and everybody's laughing and they're just push and pull and blah, blah, blah. And then suddenly a rape joke comes out and she's laughing. She doesn't even know that she is.
Mm-hmm.
And then 5 minutes after she walks out, excuse me, miss, would you ever laugh at a rape joke? No, I would never. No, right? And I'm trying to connect those two things because I think this is our only life.
Mm-hmm. Something you said about women and being attracted to someone that list about capable of murder but treats you like a princess.
Right.
I was saying Peterson because it reminds me, he's talked a lot about how he said if you look at what women want, what they're attracted to, and that you can boil down almost every romance novel to Beauty and the Beast. It's all Beauty and the Beast. A woman wants a beast who has become tamed by her, but he's still a beast, but he's willing to be tamed because he's in love with her. And
I would say even he tames himself, right?
Yes.
He pushes down. He's like, okay, I really like punching everybody, or, being brolic and just, aggressive. But for this creature who's very sweet and cooks and like is very, she's a soft place. And now I'm willing to let, as uncomfortable as it is, I'm willing to make this space in my body, in my mind, in my life.
A civilized beast.
A civilized beast. I'm willing to let this soft part happen. And now I'm going to protect her. Right.
Yes.
And she's going to take care of me and I'm going to take care of her. And it goes back and forth and blah, 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 blah. But if you can't, I saw something, you might have tweeted it, where it's just like, you can't, oh, you know what? Here, I screenshotted it. Modern feminist. What was it? I screenshotted it this morning. Let me grab it real quick. A feminist wants the power of men, the privileges of women, but the responsibility of neither. I think Carly, someone who follows you, tweeted it. And that, it's similar, but like, that's kind of what I'm talking about is like, you can't have it both ways. You know what I mean? And I think men are evolving, in great ways. It's just that the glut of them, especially in large cities, they have tamed themselves too much. And they haven't even done it consciously. They've just been like, well, I need to be a certain guy in order to get girls. So I'm going to tamp down this truth about myself, what I actually think, what I actually feel, what I actually want. And I'm just going to, because I'm trying to nice my way into vagina. Right. So if we let that happen, surprise that women and also similar to what you're talking about, there's too many options, not just for dudes, but for women. So there's so many options. They just think, oh, the next one. That's why guys won't settle down. Oh, maybe the next girl's better, or hotter. And the girl's like, maybe the next guy is a better fit,
So, what was interesting about this kind of leftist podcast, Dear Sugars, they had this 2-part episode on this question about women who were getting older and who now are looking to settle down and are finding that there's scarcity out there when it comes to men who are looking to settle down because a lot of them are already taken, and they're also so picky and bigoted in some cases. What was funny is that they had two people come on to talk about this subject with them on their 2 episodes. Do you guys want to know who the first expert they brought? Because I was thinking, oh, these poor women, they need some good advice.
Yeah.
They need someone to really red pill them in some ways, or to someone from a based perspective to tell them the truth of things, and also to give them hope for not giving up about finding that person. And you know who they brought on in the first episode to give advice to these ladies?
I bet a woman.
Lena Dunham.
Ah, what a surprise. Ms. Sweatpants herself.
No, this is I almost want to do that same episode, same subject matter, and just bring on someone that's actually going to help. But the second episode was better. They brought in an economist and they listened to him, and he was sort of secretly based, because not because he's right wing or left wing. I have no idea if he is, just because he's reality based. That's what base means. And he was speaking about finding a partner, a life partner, as in economist terms. He was talking about the marketplace. And so they were asking him, is this true? Is there a scarcity of men in the dating world when you reach a certain age? And he was like, yes, in the marketplace of dating, women have more power in their 20s when they're younger. They hold the market power, and that changes over time. And men hold more of that. And he was talking about the reasons why men have shorter lifespans. So 80-year-old men are dating 70-year-old women, and that kind of carries all the way down to 70-year-old men are dating 60-year-old women. And so there's a bit more of that happening on average. And he was like, but also women self-report on average, they're most attracted to, the number one thing they're looking for in a male partner is money, financial security. And the number one thing a man is looking for is physical attractiveness. And that's just on average. It's not everyone. But so he's like, men achieve that financial status a little later in life. Now they can afford to be attractive mates to the attractive younger women. And so there's this thing happening, and because he was a economist, they actually listened to him.
Right.
And they didn't react like knee jerk, like, how dare you call it a marketplace, or how you, because he's an economist. So I'm kind of I got on a tangent, but I just listened to that and you're making me think about it. And I just felt like those women, until they heard the economist, he gave them a dose of reality. But the person who was supposed to help them handle the emotions that they're going through and the anxiety was Lena Dunham.
Right.
And I just was like, no.
It's so upsetting too, because like, as an example, here's what I think needs to happen. And it may not, bode well, or not bode well. It may not rub everybody the right way, but I don't care. I love myself and I don't care what you think about me. Which, by the way, if everybody took care of themselves better, can I just throw in a quick commercial, everybody? If you call yourself like, oh, I'm based, I'm conservative, I'm on the, I'm anti-woke, blah, 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 and you're not taking care of yourself, you're going to go crazy too. Okay. Just like how the left does, you're going to go crazy too. Okay. You can't you whether it's prayer, meditation, I don't care what you do, therapy, the affirmations, crystals, do it, motherfucker. Because if you do not get based in reality, if you do not take care of your soul, yourself, your being, you're going to go nuts and be like you're going to be a Milo Yiannopoulos. Okay. So it doesn't matter if you're, I'm morally, righteous because I'm anti-woke. It doesn't matter. Take care of your fucking self first. Turn off social media for an hour at a time. Go breathe. Okay. Anyway. So why did I start talking about that? You're talking about Lena Dunham. Oh, by the way, did you ever see? I know you wanted to talk about Twitter files. We're like 52 minutes.
I know. And I gotta go soon because I'm gonna hop on Nina's show. I don't know if I'm gonna get to the Twitter file. We'll see.
Okay.
This is a great conversation. Though, so,
yeah, I know it is. But because I feel like it's a real pressing problem that we have. Dudes, as an example, I think we're getting what needs to happen to fix, what needs to happen to help heal men is for them to talk to men. And what needs to happen to help heal women is they need to talk to men. Oops. Now, why might that be? Well, for the last 30 years, Oprah and women, Lena Dunham, fill in the blank, have been listening, have been the North Star, right? Yeah. Of how and they're all on their show talking about how to fix their marriages and how to do the. You've had that perspective. How has it worked out?
Yes.
Right? Well, okay. Now, I'm not saying that everybody needs to listen, just based, raw egg drinking, a guy lifted, just give him a blowjob, stop complaining. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying a mixed perspective will help illuminate all the options and all the answers. And you haven't been getting that. No one has been getting that. In fact, if you've noticed, and I'm sure your audience does, every, turn on Amazon Prime, Netflix, even just by the little window that shows the show or the movie, the guy looks weak and the girl looks strong. Every single one across the board. There's a girl she looks confident in her mind. She's got a weapon, and it's Vince Vaughn going, right? It's another guy going, I'm just a goofy. My bicep is bigger than your face. Yes. How are you going to be? Kill Bill was a Kill Bill was a cartoon, kids. Okay. She didn't even work out. Okay. Even the muscle bound most girls I could beat the shit out of. I'm not saying that I want to. I'm saying let's focus on truth. There you go. Ta-da. Perfect.
This is for anybody who's just listening. You made me think of this, Peter. This was the Time magazine cover of Prince Harry and Meghan that came out in this past year, September, October. And if you take a look at this, there's a couple things. She's in the forefront. He's standing behind her, and he's sort of standing behind her the way that wives do, where they put their hand on the shoulder of the husband. And also it came out later, it was revealed that Time magazine actually went in and manipulated digitally his height to make him the same height as her. He's actually taller than her, but they made him small. And it's everything you're talking about. It's women are the answer, women first, women are strong, women
Future is female. If the future is so female, open your own pickle jar. Okay? Can we just be real? Can we be tactile about our everyday experience, ladies? And again, I'm not no chauvinist. I'm talking about reality and what's my intention. My base intention is fulfillment and truth. And damn it, I only have one life to live, and I want to be fulfilled. I want to be happy. I want to be truthful. And so I look at all the propaganda and it bothers me. Look at these girls. Exactly.
Real Raven. Some people in the chat are making me laugh. Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to stop sharing this. You just made me think of that.
Yeah. And lastly, I'll just say, I don't know if it's lastly, but I'll just say also, the main solution, is let's talk to the girls and make them see a little logic. But it's also, dudes, you need to work on yourself. And I don't mean only, therapy may be a part of it. Taking care of yourself is definitely a part of it. But, physical fitness is a part of taking care of yourself, right? Yeah. Focusing on your hobbies and yourself and your job and your base and your, setting up your home intellectually, whatever you want to call it, to prepare for the right kind of girls is you taking care of yourself. So if we fix men and get them less tied to, I need to bend the knee so that just let the girls be unsatisfied. Just let them there's a bunch of cats to be able to be adopted. If they really decide long-term that women don't, if they want to live that life, that's why, essentially I had to do that thing with that ex of mine. Cause I was just like, okay, all right, this is your decision, rock and roll, go for it. Because I'm tired of trying to fix women. I'm tired of, I've spent my 30s, mostly doing it, and I've done a very good job. But, I want somebody, like I said, I heard Alec Baldwin say it in his autobiography, and I don't get me wrong. It was like 5 years ago that I listened to it. Relax, everybody. But I heard him say that at a certain point in his life, he was like a taxi cab for women, where they would get in and go with him for a little while, and then they'd get out. Right. He wasn't going to, and that's kind of what I've been. They get in, we go along, we have a good time. I improve them and they improve me too. It's great, whatever. Or at least long story, suffice it to say. And then I drop them off, and I'm tired of doing that. I'm like, no, I actually am.
Do you want do you want a serious relationship?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And I don't know where, she is. But I'm more, picky isn't the right word. I think I'm more circumspect. I'm more honest with myself, cautious, and I'm honest with myself about what I want now. You know what I mean? It isn't, back, 10 years ago, I think it's normal for every dude in his 20s to be like, oh, you want me, so I guess I'll spend time with you. You know what I mean? Whereas now it's like, okay, but what are you bringing to the table? Instead of you come to the table, as you are, and I help you, it's like, okay, no, I want somebody who is down to get some chickens and some guns and, and make fun of the government and whatever, or at least be apolitical. I'm fine with that. But someone who doesn't just want kids and I want to be exactly. This is not a commercial. I'm just saying and I'm also mostly saying this for the dudes out there. Although you can email me at conservativepodcast@gmail.com. I get paid in titty pictures. But my thing is like, I'm more clear about what I want and I'm acting on it. And the base of that is, I've always been on a spiritual tip and taking care of myself for like 20 years. So I'm good. but on another level of being like, okay, what kind of man do I want to be? I don't care if girls want to be a part of that or not.
I think sometimes we, because not everyone, not speaking for everyone in the chat, certainly, but in our culture, I think we mature. In some ways, we mature faster. They're sexualizing kids at a much younger age, but in terms of emotional and intellectual maturity and
Right.
things that are meaningful and that matter, people stay in that childhood state for much longer. They live with their parents for much longer. They're treated like kids for much longer,
Yeah.
and I think people, especially if they're growing up in this social justice world, they're not really thinking about these meaningful questions until later. And I'll just say, like in my case, I didn't figure out, who I was or what I wanted. And I didn't really start asking some of those meaningful questions. Like in my case, one of those questions I became obsessed with was, is there a God? Like, what's the meaning of life? What are we? Are we just brains and physical bodies, or is there a soul? And all those questions until later. But once you start figuring out the big questions and you know what you want, that's great. Because now you're on that path that, towards your North Star.
Right.
And I'm really excited for you. And you're here in Texas, so you're going to meet a nice Texas lady.
Oh. I can't. I mean, like I've already met a, whatever. But but like just the fact that I remember a few weeks ago, I went to with a friend. I was talking to her, her husband and her have like a plethora of guns, and I'm like, I want to try out what kind of gun I want, and I want to, because I've been in, Bay Area in New York. You can't, it's the government's job. It's Big Daddy government to protect you because they do such a bang up job. And so she let me try out a couple of her guns, and I'm driving away from the range, and I just felt overwhelmed by just like, yeah, this is the kind of life I want. Yeah, this is what I want. I really like this. You know what I mean? I don't want the, and so I think, I'm excited too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Cool. Well, hey, we're going to wrap this show early because I have to go to Nina's show. We never got to the Twitter files.
Yeah.
We never got to the thing that was annoying me today. You're just going to have to come back. I would
will.
love for you to come back and hang out with me again. We'll
Happy
talk.
to.
Okay. And just tell people again where they can find you online and about your upcoming show in Austin. Okay.
So my upcoming show in Austin, I'm a musician, singer-songwriter. You can find my music all on, iTunes and Spotify and blah, blah, blah. But I have a show at Swan Dive in Austin. And it is January 14th at 9 p.m. Doors open at 9 p.m. It's $5 for the show. So there you go. Easy. And it's going to be with Lizzie Carr, Sarah Burton, and Brittany Lobus. So a couple of really great musicians. And, my music is like a mix of Jack Black meets Jeff Buckley and a little bit of punk in it. So, I've got some surprises there. So come to Swan Dive, January 14th, next Saturday. And then I also have a weekly show called Conservatish. My latest episode, I did have a few weeks ago, I had Chrissy Mayer on, which was awesome. Thank you, Dom. Chrissy Mayer on episode 245. And then this upcoming episode will be Michael Anthony, who's a carnivore diet guy and also did a bunch of protesting for medical freedom in New York City during the pandemic. So it's a great conversation. And that's releasing today. And then you can find me on Instagram at Peter_Feliciano, on Twitter at Rule62Peter. You can support my podcast and my music at patreon.com/conservatish, or you can Venmo me at Peter-Feliciano. That's all.
Cool. Thank you, Peter. You guys go check him out. Find him here on YouTube on Conservatish, and you can watch the other parts of the Based Uber Driver series. Very excited you were able to stop by. I can't wait to see you again in person and back on the channel. So thank you guys for hanging out. Happy January 6th. Happy Epiphany. See you later, guys.
Bye.
Oh, wait. Now it's the awkward point where I didn't have the video pulled up. Oh, here we go. Thank you to today's sponsor, the Church on the Square of Georgetown, Texas, which happens to be my church. My church is no longer allowed to advertise on Facebook, which is unfortunate because that's how I and a lot of other church members originally found them. They've been told that they violate community standards
There's no details there of what that means, but you guys know the score. Anyway, since they're not allowed to advertise, I'm here to give them a plug. You can find them online at thechurchonthesquare.org. You can also find videos of all the sermons and some other kinds of content on their YouTube page at Church on the Square. You can also join us. If you happen to be in the Georgetown, Texas area, we meet every Sunday at Ken's Guitars, that's Kenz, Ken's Guitars, right on the Georgetown Square. We meet outside, right on the square. Sometimes, if the weather's nice, you might find us there. You might find us outside in front of Ken's. But if you're local, I hope to see you. Thank you.
Oh, I'm gonna go then! And I don't need any of this! I don't need this stuff! And I don't need you! I don't need anything! Except this! This ashtray, and that's the only thing I need is this!